Hello friends and welcome to my channel Iballdesigningdeveloper. So like you all know that previously on we have covered up many of the things using C++. In previous video I have told you about constructors, like if you are working with constructors, so how to use them and what's the purpose to use constructors. So like that in this video we will be understanding that what are access specifiers in C++. Basically if we talk about constructors, so in constructors we were just using some classes as well. So if we talk about access specifier with constructor, so we have to use access specifier with classes as well, but both the difference is that in constructor and access specifier, that in constructors we use constructors which are with classes, and now we will be using some specifier, means a specific classes name which we will be normally not using in constructors. So that's the difference between both constructors and access specifiers, and I hope you'll be enjoying this video in which we will be covering up a tutorial of access specifiers in C++. So if you understand this video and if you enjoy this amazing tutorial here from start, so remember to hit a like to this video, and if you're new on this channel, want to see more videos like that, so remember to subscribe, and after subscribing, hit notification bell as well so you can get the notifications of all my coming up videos which I'll be uploading on this channel. So now what we are waiting for, let's move to computer screen and let's get started. So now here we are on the computer screen, and like I've told you that today in this video I'll be telling you about access specifiers in C++, that if you are starting with access specifier, so how to use it, and basically what's the purpose to use access specifier in C++. If we understand that what is access specifier, so by now you are quite familiar with the public keyword that appears in all of our class examples. If we see one class example which is familiar with the public keyword, so this is the example here which we have added, which is class my class. It is a class which we have added, and the public which we are adding is a access specifier, and the class members which we will be adding will be going after this public access specifier which we have added. The public keyword is an access specifier. Access specifiers define how the members, attributes and methods of a class can be accessed. In the example above, the members are public, which means that they can be accessed and modified from outside the code. However, what if we want members to be private and hidden from the outside world? In C++, there are three access specifiers. Public members are accessible from outside the class. Private members cannot be accessed or viewed from outside the class. Protected members cannot be accessed from outside the class. However, they can be accessed in inherit classes. You will learn more about inheritance later. In the following example, we demonstrate the differences between public and private members. So if we talk about normally what is access specifier, so access specifier is quite familiar to the public keyword. Like normally when we are creating a class or when we create constructor in class, before that we create a public keyword, like you all know that previously as well we have created that. So this public keyword will be called as access specifier, and there are three types of access specifier which we use in C++. First is public. In public, the members are accessible from outside the class if you are using, and private are like if you are using members which is not viewed from outside the class. So for that I will be using private. And the protected, which is the third access specifier we use when members cannot be accessed from outside the class, but it can be accessed inherited classes. So that's the thing. And now we will be also learning about inheritance later, but now not now, because inheritance is a, like you can say, any advanced topic. So that's why we will be learning it in the future video here. So in the following example, we demonstrate the differences between public and private members. So if we talk about the difference between public and private, so in public access specifier, you will be using the public attribute, which is this one, and you will be using an initx normally. Like this is an example which we are adding as initx, which is a public attribute. Then if we normally use private access specifier, which is a private here, and then after that I'll be using private attribute in this private access specifier, which will be as initY, like we are using initx in public attribute. If I move down here to check like what are the things which we can use in public and not in private, so the thing is that if I create this init main, like normally you can just say it as an example, if I create an init main class, which is the class to call any function here. So in this I'll be just calling my class, my object, and in my object I will be adding one class, or sorry, one attribute which will be as public, and the second attribute which we will be adding as my object dot y equal to 50 will be a private attribute, because I'm using private access specifier here, and in public we are using public access specifier. So the first thing which we have added as my object dot x equal to 25, it will be allowed as public, and the second thing which is my object y 50, it will be not allowed because it will be a private function, or you can say a private string variable which you are adding, and then I'll be returning a value as 0. If you try to access a private member and error occurs, y is private. So you will be getting an error because you will be getting one error which will be as y is private, but we don't want that. We should be getting that error. So note, by default, all members of a class are private. If you don't specify an access specifier, normally if I don't define any access specifier, like normally when we create classes, like in previous videos as well, we have created many classes, but we create a attribute as well, like access specifier with that which is public, because I want that the classes which I am adding in my class tag or in my class value should be printed as public or should be public. But if I am not writing any access specifier and normally I'm only writing the class name and constructor name, so the normal attribute which you will be adding in your class will be automatically private. So we don't want that, it should be private. That's why we define access specifier, and there are 3 types of access specifier like I've told you, but the most commonly used access specifier is public and private. Protected members cannot be accessed from outside the class, that's why we don't use it here. So that's the thing, and I hope you understand how we can use the access specifiers in C++. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I am just copying this example here which we are getting, which is the difference between public and private attributes. So I'll be just copying this thing here, and then I will be just moving on to my Google Chrome, and I'll be just writing here access specifier, because in this video I'm telling you about access specifier. That's why I'll be writing like this, and I'll be writing in C++. Now press enter here, and after doing it, I'll be just moving here and then paste it. And you can just see we are getting all the things, and I hope you understand how we are getting. So I've copied this thing as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'll be moving on to Google Chrome again, and I'll be just removing this, and I'll be adding include IOStream like this. And then here I will be adding using namespace std now, using namespace std, and then I'll be pasting these things. After pasting, you can just see the first thing which we are adding here is class, and in class we are adding first public specifier, which is, sorry, you can just say the first thing which we are adding in my class is a access specifier which is named as public, and in this public access specifier I'm adding an attribute as well which is initx. Then the second access specifier which we are creating is private, and in this private access specifier I am adding a attribute as well which will be called as a private attribute which is as initY. So these are the 2 access specifiers which we have defined, and in both access specifiers I have defined their value as well as initx and initY. Then if I want to print this class, or you can say if I want to call this class in my output, so for that I will be creating another class of initmain in which I'll be calling my first class as my class. You can give any of the name to your class because I'm not using constructor here, and then you can write my object so that you can create an object and you can get both public and private access specifier printed in the output as their values, not themselves. So if I want to print this, so I'll be adding my object, and now this my object will be creating an object as x, and this x will be called as a public value, so it will be printed in output, but this private will be not printed because I have defined a private value here which is not allowed value. So that's why when you will be printing this thing here, you will be getting an error, and you will be getting an error as y is private. If I run this thing, so you can just see we are getting an error here. It is saying us that y is a private member of my class, that's why it cannot be printed here. But if I just do one thing, if I change it to like protect it, like we have seen we can use 3 types of access specifiers, so like that this is the third which we are using. So now if I run it, after running, you can just see it is saying us that y is a protected member of my class, that's why you cannot use this y in the output. But if I just use public here as well, like I have used at the top, so now we have to check what output I am getting here now. If I run it, you can just see we are getting both value printed in the output, but we are not getting it because we are using 2 names here which is public and public. Again and again we are using 2 names, but I don't want to use it. So for doing that, I'll be running it again. After running, you can just see it is saying us that it's not allowed private. We have not defined this, that's why we are getting an error. But if I remove it and if I run only this x value which is 25, so we'll be getting 25 in the output. So you can just see we are getting nothing in the output. Why we are getting it? Because now we have defined this public attribute here, and in this public attribute we have defined a calling allowed public value, which is 25. That's why when we are printing this public access specifier, so we are not getting anything printed. So that's the thing, and that's the way to use a public access specifier. So normally, if you are using any class or if you are creating any class in C++, so for that you need to use public access specifier, which I prefer you to use, because it will be providing you all the things, like it will be providing you all the important classes values which you need to add here. So that's why I'll prefer you to use it, and I hope you understand if we are using public and private access specifier, so what is different between them and why we don't use private and protected members. Why we only use public? Because public is a method, or you can say a public is an access specifier which helps the user to add all the classes values, or you can say all the classes members, which will be helping us to user to be getting the output console printed perfectly. So I hope you understand how we are using access specifiers in C++, how many types of access specifiers are there, and why we use access specifier in C++. So if you have understand this video, and if you enjoyed that, how we can use access specifier in C++, so remember to hit a like to this video, and if you're new on this channel, want to see more videos like that, so remember to subscribe. And after subscribing, the notification bell as well, so you can get the notifications of all my coming up videos which I'll be uploading in future. So now I'll be just meeting in next tutorial here of C++ from start. So for today, goodbye.